Pitched on the top of the hill facing east, but still didn't get my sunset cloud this morning. Morning. Hi, it's Jay from I Wonder UK. Day 10, day 2 or 10 on the South Downs Way there and back challenge. Knee was playing up yesterday, managed to stop it. Oh, now the sun's coming up, and I was hoping to get that obligatory open the door to the sunrise come out, but unfortunately it did come up this morning, but it was behind the cloud, so I couldn't see it. Never mind. I'm about a mile and a bit in, travelling west from Alfriston. Today I'd like to get through to Southease. Is it pronounced Southease or Southease? I'm going to skip breakfast and try and get to the youth hostel there and pick up a sandwich. Maybe. We'll see. I calculate, I think it's about 6 miles. I'm about a mile and a bit in, so I've got 4.5, 5 miles to there. I'm going to try and rest my knee up, have something to eat for breakfast, brunch. Well, it will be brunch time. From there, push on through to Housdean Farm, where I can pick up some water. And then from there, another 2.5 miles out. But I know after I pick up the water, which obviously always makes my pack heavier, I've got a big push up the hill. Sorry, I'm not trying to put any, what they call surprises in. But I know there's a big hill coming up from there. Well, weirdly enough, the hills going up is not too bad, or at least I think they're not too bad. It's the coming down. So coming down to there, I can't really remember. But we'll see how we get on. Thank you for joining me. Let's see what we can do today on South Downs Way. Even though I was tucked right down in this dip, well, hole basically, the combination of the hole and these gorse bushes really saved me friend. It was from the wind, sorry. It wasn't really strong last night, but I wanted the most peaceful night I can get to try and get some rest. It worked, it was comfy. I obviously was tossing and turning with my back pain. I never sleep properly anyway, I'm always one way or the other. But it's a great place to wake up to. Forecast today is, I think, maybe getting up to 20, and it's supposed to be cloudy all day. It doesn't show you a bit of sun on the weather forecast. That could work to my advantage. If it stays cool, then I haven't got to deal with the heat either. I love the heat, but I'm sorry, I love the sun, but the way I'm feeling at the moment, I can live without the sun for the day. At least for the day. Please stay clear though, whoever's in charge. As always, leave no trace. Little bit of bent grass that'll soon pop back up again. Literally just leaving, just getting back onto the path. Oh, sorry, I'm not in the screen there. And just thinking how much I enjoy not having my shoes on in the morning. I always just get out the tent barefoot. Tread carefully if you do that. I do it when I'm at home. When I go out in the garden, I wander around with bare feet all the time. But I love that feeling of, I don't know, touching the ground. And also an added bonus, I don't have to put my shoes on to the last minute. Further up the hill here, it looks like a crater. I'm sure it's not. But that would have been another fine wild camping spot. Slightly disappointed myself with that little crater. It's a little bit further up the hill, so they've got a little bit more of a view, and I'm sure that would have been sheltered. Wouldn't have been great if it was raining. I think it may be called New Pond. Literally after a few minutes just got another outlook now. As I was just approaching this car park and quite inquisitive about all these camper vans, coming down the hill, there's a bit of a hunt going on. I'm just going to give my wide berth morning and let me go past. Sometimes things are just meant to be. This was an emergency spot for me that I spotted on the way through. But the slope up here is where I was going to pitch. So I stopped short last night, and this is the hill I would have been pitching on if I'd stuck to the original plan. And I would have had those come past if I'd laid in the morning. We're heading up this lovely grassy meadow type. It's lovely to walk on. Up to Thurl Beacon, centre of screen now. And across that ridge line. Morning. out to the television mast there in the centre of the screen. I wish I could capture the way that sun's coming through the clouds. It's breaking into those ray type things. But this is where we came from this morning. Just coming up that last hill, 3 runners were going the other way, and the lad said to me, watch out, there's a bull in the field with the cows in the next one. But he's alright, he's just hiding amongst the cows. He's alright. I always find when you come across a group this size, they're so widely spread, there's no real option to go to the side of the field. As long as you don't get between the mothers and the calves, it's normally alright. Or I've always been alright up till now, but we'll see. Poser. Anybody told you got crap on your nose? I'm not saying they don't, but I think the key thing is to not panic with cows. I've had, a couple of years ago, I was out on a training walk and I cut across the field, official footpath for cows, and I think they were bullocks. And I always find they're like teenage lads. They're just so inquisitive, and one will always try and outdo the other, to the stage where I was coming across this field with about 30 of them walking behind me and 2 or 3 of them nudging my rucksack. And I just had to literally stop and go, I'm not going to do it now because there's still cows around. Shout at them, go, turn around briefly, and they'd stop right in their tracks. As soon as I turned around again, 2 or 3 metres later, I was getting my rucksack nudged. They're just being curious, I guess. I said, no, quite seriously, don't run. But you do need to know one fact. You can't outrun a cow. So if you are going to run, all you need to do is outrun the last person in your group. Today's rant. How can that be fair or reasonable? I've just walked through a car park there. It's got ANPR cameras on. We're on the top of the hill in the middle of nowhere. The previous car park is free. And rant over. We just passed the radio mast now. I promised myself to take it easy this morning, and I am. I've had a couple of little breaks, and now I'm going to have a proper sit down, a good 10 minutes, 15, maybe 20, just to sort of relax my knee off again. Fingers crossed it seems to be holding up, but I haven't had any real descent yet, so we'll find out. My aim was to try and get to that TV mast to have a sit down, and as I got there were sheep all around me, which don't normally bother me. I'm not bothered with sheep at all. And it wasn't until I sat down here, I've just come through the gate, as you can probably see, and sat down here, and I realised why it may have been. 3 years ago, when I walked the Southwest Coast Path, I was several days into the walk, and every time I stopped for a break, I could smell sheep poo. I was thinking, this is odd. Okay, there's sheep out there all the time, but my sense of smell is, I struggle to smell burnt toast. I could keep on smelling it. I went on for at least 2 days like that, I must admit, before I realised that somewhere along the line I'd chucked my rucksack down because I'd heaved it off, and I've got some sheep poo stuck in the mesh on the back of my rucksack, so every time I'd stop to have a break, I was leaning against my rucksack and smelling sheep poo. I was carrying my own supply. Idiot, eh? From here, just over half a mile till I reach Red Lion Pond, which is not a pub. And when I get to the Red Lion Pond, I've got about another mile and a half, approximately, till I get to Itford Farm, the youth hostel, where I'm hoping to get some brunch. I do love seeing these chalk paths, or mixture of chalk and flint sometimes, but it's so much easier on your feet when you've got this nice grass verge next to it. A little bit further on, we seem to be swinging towards the sea again. You might just see it past the tree. And on your left hand side, if you look down, is New Haven. Let's keep on walking down the track. These, sorry, I'll stand still for a second. These 3 bushes just in the distance there start leading me to believe that I'm heading towards the sea, but I know that the trail turns right in a minute. And we're going to start our descent, because I just had a giveaway. I heard a train horn. I said earlier on I'm trying to be really easy on myself, me and my knee, and I am. And I had a positive thought this morning, well look, I've got 12 hours of this day, I can actually try and achieve this walk. But I've got not disillusioned, but I'm just looking to my right now, and Black Cap seems to be getting further away. There's a beautiful view down the valley of the river that runs down and goes down through Southease. But I know I need to be dropping down into Southease and then coming back up on that ridge centre of screen now and along there before dropping down again and then coming across and getting out to Black Cap. Another great little dip, sheltered from the wind, just by this trig point. Yeah, the grass is long, you can always flatten that down. Yeah, this would be an ideal little spot. After the initial gentle descent, which is okay, I can see and I know that this drops off really badly, but in the distance I can see where I'm going for. I'm just heading for here for the youth hostel and see the church in Southease there. Just to try and give you some idea of the scale of this descent. You see the cars there, middle of the screen now. We're going down there, but if you're finishing your day off, you're not far off from Southease. I'm going through for Southease. I'll be going along that ridge line. Just another different view. Back down there and then back up to Black Cap. The sun has broken through, and not exaggerating, it's making the reflection off this chalk path really hard to look at with your eyes. It's really reflecting. When you're dropping down to the youth hostel, if you're desperate to go to the loo or you're really thirsty, save yourself a couple of minutes. As you drop down the last bit, there's a fork in the path and you take the left hand one to go over the footbridge. If you take the right hand one, go a few meters and you need to cross the road, so be careful. But then cross the road and then you'll pop straight into the youth hostel and it'll be on your left hand side. Had something to eat now. I had one of the breakfast baps, bacon, sausage, egg and a hash brown in a roll and a cup of coffee for £8.50. And it's okay. I think it's probably left over from breakfast, but there, it fills a hole, doesn't it? I've decided after having a little rest there that I'm going to persevere or try very hard for the rest of the day not to talk about my knee, because I'm boring myself and I don't want to bore you. So that's it. No more knee talk. We have a road, rail and river crossing all in very quick succession on that little bit there. As we go up a slight slope towards the quaint little church at the top there, there's a tap outside there. Yeah, the tap's on the outside wall, so you don't even need to go into the churchyard. The top of that little road out of Southease, and then a quick right onto the road and immediately left, and we're back out in the country again. When you know it, after the little drop down from Southease, walk along this farm track like this, and the sun's almost directly on my left hand side, and I can feel it warming me up and my face, and there's really there's a fluff of wind and a tiny little wind, so it's heating me right back up again. There's a few cars today in the maze, and they've got these bell tents at the back. I don't know if you could pitch your own little tent there. It's South Farm maze. Just another little reminder to look back. Please, just stop and look back. We just walked down this valley, south is the other side, but if you look on the top there, is the radio mast where I had a sit down this morning. But we're looking ahead again, past there, through these woods and out on the hill the other side there. If I'm to be honest, and it's just honesty, it's critique, I'm not being critical, this road coming up this hill is long, it's concrete, it's easy to walk on, so I guess there's that, but it's one of those, it's almost like a Roman road, in fact it may be, but it just goes on. But the advantage is, I'm going to swing around the other way. You can see the hill to the left of us, centre of the screen now, and if you look at the end of this road, and just exactly centre of the screen now is Seven Sisters. So if you're travelling west to east, there's a little inspiration for you. Not this gap here, this one just here. I'm allowing my mind to wander. That's the clue there. This straight road, I started thinking about Roman roads and why they made them straight. I suppose it's most efficient and you could see all your troops, soldiers out in front of you. But for one of the soldiers, oh, that must have been mind destroying. In my personal opinion, I like it when you have a meandering road and you're not quite sure what's around the next. Then you might have a little surprise, you might not, and stuff like that all day. Many years ago, well, 40 years ago, I was in the RAF, and when we first had to do our basic training and we had to march everywhere for the first 18 months, I struggled. Have you seen these legs? They're not the longest legs in the world. I'm a short bloke anyway, but my legs are particularly short. So I, instead of the sound off to the sergeant was left, right, I used to be going left, right, left, right, left, left, right, left to try and catch up in between the normal stride blokes. And I can't imagine that on a long piece of road. It was crazy. Oh dear me, lucky I wasn't a Roman soldier, I guess. There's a quick heads up regarding wild camping. Travelling westward direction, east to west, from Southease, still don't know. You're on a farmer's track, a little bit of grass, and then a concrete path, which is becoming monotonous. I'm still on it. I've turned around the corner and I'm still on another one. Stop moaning. But both sides are fields, cereal fields. Which way? Which way's the prevailing wind? Yeah, promised myself I'll get to the end of that concrete road. I've been stopping, but I haven't, stopped, sat down, took my rucksack off type stopping. So that was my promise to myself. And from here, the views are changing again. We can still see back to the chalk cliffs, I'm going to call them, which I find beautiful. But in a minute, we'd turn around the corner, our outlook would be different again. Countryside for miles, literally miles and miles, 15, maybe 20 miles. We're going up there and the outlook will change again. On a serious note for a second, I'm taking a sit down, having 10 minutes. Does anybody know? Someone can perhaps help me. A couple of years ago, I asked the nurse down at the medical centre if you could get a probe for measuring your heat. And besides one you can get in your ear, your mouth or your anus. That was about it. But it'd be great if you could strap one somewhere on your body and someone could work out an algorithm to work out your average body heat. Say if you had it on your wrist, it would, or on your core, and you could feed that information to your phone or watch, I guess. Is there an app for that? If there's not, please make one, and a small licensing fee for me would be greatly appreciated. But I've just come up that hill and realised I've overheated myself, even though it's not that sunny, as you can tell. And it's not until I looked at myself in the screen, and this just doesn't come naturally, I realised how hot I am. That was the way ahead where those people just were. But again, I know I keep saying it, but please do it. We've just come through that gate, we've just dropped down to that gate and the path's on the other side. But there in the distance is the radio beacon. Talking about the redness in my face a minute ago reminded me of something, just quickly if I might share with you. My long-term girlfriend, 16 years, of my age girlfriend, We were watching something, and I'm quite happy to say, "Oh, he's a good-looking bloke." And there was a bloke on the TV, and someone called him pretty. And I looked at her and I said, "I don't think I'm pretty, am I?" And she said, "No, Jay, your face is more like lived in." Not getting too many of those. Nearly or about at the halfway mark now from Southease to Housestein Farm, and another great outlook. And it's boosted my confidence because Blackcap is in the distance, which is what I'm aiming for today. I can see it quite clearly now. About approximately the halfway mark, the path turns into flint, and there is no alternative. It drops off from the fence on the other side, so just to remind you, your feet are still there. Views to the left of us looking down the valley. This is the spot I had identified for my night 6 on my eastward journey. As you can see, the field's quite big, so when I was looking on OS maps, it looked okay. It's amazing what a couple of days difference would be. That would have been literally day 6, we're on day 2, however many days different, 3 or 4. And when I came up here out of Housestein Farm, it wasn't blowing a hoolie, but it was a good steady 12 to 15 mile an hour with wind gusts 23 to 24. But on the top of the hill exposed was just a no-no. And equally, when I sat down to suss it out in the evening, if you go back and watch the end of day 6, you'll see that this field was full of cows. So definitely a no-no, and looking at it now you can tell I wouldn't put my tent up here. There's cow pats around and there's fresh ones, so that to me is just an obvious no-no. I don't wish to be boring about Blackcap where my end destination is today, but I wish I could get there as the crow flied, because I need to be coming from down about here. I think you just see some tents. Yeah, that's Housestein Farm, and then I need to be going up Long Hill, appropriately named, and up, and I think it zigzags a couple of times before we get up there. At the moment we're walking down to this gate and then over the field down to the trees there, and just descending all the way down into Housestein Farm. Windmill. Cows in the bottom of the field there. And the point I'm trying to make is how peaceful it is. How quiet just being outside. Alone with your thoughts is a good thing. I think I'm going on to just appreciate the fact how great it is to be out. I think we all know that. I had a discussion yesterday with 2 young ladies, and that topic came up of, oh, how good it is for your mental health. Well, I think we already knew that. I didn't think anybody needs to do a study on that to be outside is good for your mental health. When I was a kid, we were always told to go outside. I was fortunate my mum took us out as much as she could. We used to go swimming in the sea while swimming in the river, and just get out as much as we could and appreciate it. But yeah, it's definitely good for your mental health. It's just nice being outside, isn't it? There's a quick shot of my trekking shoes, for no other reason except somebody asked me yesterday what I use. They're the Ultra Olympus 5s. Before that I had the Olympus 4. I've had 3 pairs of the 5s now, and I swear by them, that's what I wear. Combine those with the 1,000 mile trekking sock, not shop, 1,000 mile trekking sock, like the anklet type ones is what I use for my trekking shoes. But I've worn the above the ankle ones with boots, and I find those comfortable as well. Just like for me, a winning combination. It's not a recommendation for everybody. We're all different, aren't we? One of the things I like about them is they're so light compared to walking boots, and I do wear walking boots come October time through to February, March, especially if I'm out long distance, I keep the boots on. It's just better in those type of climates. For as soon as it's dry or not too inclement, sorry, I'll swap over to trekking shoes. And I've only been using them the last 2-3 years, I guess. I've never even thought about them before. I thought just fell runners wore them. But yeah, I actually swear by them. I like the toe space. They remind me of shoes I had when I was a kid. We used to call them duck feet, and they like, I'm going to stop, like round on the front. So you've got lots of space for your toes to grow. But it's similar when you're walking. It's when you're walking flat or walking up hills and then down hills. You've got your room for your toes to spread, and my feet naturally spread from March, April onwards anyway, because being barefoot or normally in flip-flops if I'm not out walking. I mentioned a few days ago, and I forgot to say anything about it then, I realised I was getting like a hard bit of skin just on the middle of my toes. I can't explain it, like right in the middle of that bit of toe, and it's because when I'm coming downhill, my toes are squashing up together and it's pushing the end bit, and that's what I was walking on. And after a while, I think your brain, you sort of settle into what you think's right for your feet. And I forgot to spread my toes out again. And as soon as I realised that hard thing, I realised what I was doing. After I've walked downhill, a descent, I spread my toes back out again, walking on the flat or walking uphill. And I find it feels like you got more grip when you're going up hills. You spread your toes out in between each pace, and it sort of exercises your feet as well, and I think your feet last longer. That's just a personal view. I don't know if it's not a scientific proven fact. It's just what I think. Just sauntering down this wooded bit now, which is lovely and in the shade, and just picked a few of the blackberries. They seem to be, they're still nice, but they seem to be, I'm going to say, past their best. They've gone a little bit watery on this bit. Could be different in other places, which I found out on the way through, but hopefully I'll be able to pick some. I can't recall if there's some on the other side, because that's started to become a firm favourite of mine at the end of the day. A couple of dozen blackberries and a couple of sachets of brown sugar. Hot water, you know, it makes sense. I'm sure I've said before, other people have some concerns eating blackberries and suggest you should soak them first. I never have done, never will. I think I've come up with the ultimate solution. If you pop one in your mouth and squeeze your tongue up to the roof of your mouth, at the front of your mouth, it squashes all the juice out. Immediately you get a taste if it's juicy or not. And two, you can tell if there's any hard bits or bits that sort of wiggle. If there's any bits that wiggle, you might want to spit them out, or not. And as we turn, the last little right hand turn, coming up under, I think this is a railway bridge. I'm going to say it's a railway bridge. We're getting back to a little bit of reality, which is going to hit hard of our normal everyday lives, I guess. Hear what I mean with the traffic. I filled up with water outside Housden Farm. As I've said before, I like to finish the end of the day with 2.5 litres of water, splash some water in my hair. The tap is literally outside the farm on the pavement. You can't miss it, you have to walk past it. And we're attempting to go up here, get away from this noise. Just a quick look back. We walked along the top of that ridgeline, came across, dropped down here to the woods, like a zigzag, came down the other side of the bushes there, through this little bit of woodland, down, and it goes right next to the road, right out to a flyover, then back again to Housden Farm, and then up this hill, which I think is called Long Hill, ironically. I'm pleased with that. I put that slope or ascent up the hill on a pedestal, I guess, this morning when I was looking at the route, and last night, knowing that I'd have to add an extra 2.5k of weight with the water to try and get up there, but it's a lot easier getting up than it is getting down. The downhill is a doozy, a real doozy. Yeah, I stopped once briefly and then stopped to show you the view just going behind there, and that was it. Nice steady walk up. Pleased with myself. Followed by a little stroll through some spooky woods. Lovely little woods. Tell me that isn't a face on there, please. Once you see a face in one of the trees, I can't help seeing it in others. Without even looking, they just jump out. It's like cloud watching when shapes just appear. Is that delusional? Or is it just my active childhood imagination? I've just felt real heat again, like a change in temperature by a couple of degrees quickly, and I felt that on the way eastward. That's weird. I wonder if it's in the same place. I have to check the videos and look back, but like a sudden noticeable difference in temperature from cool to like, oh, that's warm, and not in the sun. Well, you can see sun's not breaking through. That's odd. Wow, I wonder if it is the same spot. I love blackberries. When I was a kid, there was 5 kids in the family, and we didn't have much money, so every year we'd actually go out blackberry picking. That was the thing. The whole family just went with I'm not sure we had Tupperware containers or bags, not sure. There might have been old ice cream tubs or something, I don't know, but we'd literally go out most of the day. And initially it's always one of those chores with me and my brother next to me. It's 11 months difference, so we're always arguing. But after a while it sort of becomes a badge of honour who can pick the most. Put aside the stinger nettles and the brambles, or when a spider runs up your arm, you pull it back quick and you get caught on the brambles. The reward of having all those blackberries at the end. My mum used to literally then spend days afterwards making them into jam, and we'd literally have blackberry jam all year round. That and strawberries, because I used to live in Norfolk at that time, and strawberries you could go and get paid for picking them. And then you could pick your own really, really, really cheaply. So the whole family again did that. So we'd have strawberry jam and blackberry jam all year round. And that's one of the sweet, desserty type things I can remember from my youth. So that's why I still love blackberries. And if you like blackberries, that wasn't a deliberate link, I promise. This little run down to the woods, we're running westward now, aren't we? Yeah, westward. But if you're running around this little bit that runs down here, down to these woods, and on the other side of there is Housdean Farm, that whole alleyway there is just covered in blackberries. You need to be getting them quick because they're ready now. I've had to check the weather forecast on my phone again. I can't, it says it's 21. It doesn't even feel like that. It's literally cloud all round. The sun's not out, look. There is no sun. I think my internal thermostat's blown. It's just, we're going up a hill, but it's not really a hill, it's a slight slope. I was out of breath back there talking, but it's not an out of breath or leg stretcher. But I can feel my internal heat coming up and up and up. I can't cool it down. I'm trying to slow down, but it might pop. As we descended through the woods and then strolled up Blackberry Alley. Yes, I've just dubbed it Blackberry Alley. There's a sharp turning left, and then it's a slight ascent, but it's pleasant because you feel like you're gaining something without it torturing your body, and the views are just opening up again. Got the woodlands, pretty sure that's Blackcap. I'm going to keep going on about it, and that ridge line up there is for tomorrow, but we're still heading this way for now. Has anybody else noticed the behaviour of sheep? It's odd. Earlier on, I don't think it was hot. I don't think that's the reason. Hello. This lot I'm just passing on the left-hand side are all curious. Sort of looking up, who's that, who's that? I passed a lot earlier on and they were laying down. I've never seen such depressed-looking animals. You could imagine a speech bubble, a thought bubble coming out the top of them would take my life. Really, they're like laying down and hunched over like that, with even pulling a miserable face if that's possible. But yeah, next time you're walking past, observe the sheep a little bit more. Just let me know, guys. Am I losing my brain? I noticed this bit of path on the way eastward. I had to double check myself because I sort of lost confidence a bit, to be honest with you. But look how wide the path is. Just a quick guide, look. It's my foot, and it's a little wider than 1 foot. And it sort of doesn't look like it's used that much because the brush on the side's not broken back and stuff like that. But it's the correct path as far as I can tell. I just had a Blackberry and it had that, I can't describe, like a little aftertaste after it popped in your mouth. And oh, flowery, like a flowery type taste in my mouth in the best possible way. Oh my God. I'm going to have to write a spin-off series here, aren't they? The Life and Times of the Blackberry Hunter. Colouring Delights Blackberries in the Wild with Jay. Yeah, that's enough about blackberries. Unless I pick some before I get up to Black Cap, which would be convenient for a drink. And then I'll probably boil you some more. She's walking along this little narrow path before it turns into the wider bridleway up there. Just have another look behind you. I'm not going to show you, but just have another look behind you. I've got another mile and a bit, maybe a mile and a quarter to where just the area. I haven't actually identified a proper little pitch where I want to be tonight. I keep feeling little spots of rain. Hopefully I'll hold off for now. But we're doing the old zigzag. I need to go up to there to the pylon to cut down along that hedge line to get up to the Black Cap. It does that sometimes. I should really take a break, but because it's just over a mile and a bit away. Oh no, probably about a mile now, hopefully, positive. I've decided to push on. My body heat's warm again, and I'm getting like electric shocks is the only way I could describe it in my little toes. Not my big toe, but all my little toes on my right foot. I had it sometime last week, a couple of times, but only lasted a couple of steps, and I wiggled my toes around in my shoes and it went. But it doesn't seem to be going today. I'm not sure what that's about. You may be able to hear me panting slightly because my body temperature's hot, but I think I've got to that stage where I've had enough, really. And I don't want to sit down and then, oh, that struggle of getting up and walking the last little bit. Just trying to endure it for the last bit. But yeah, all of a sudden I've gone, oh, battery's down. No Duracell bunny for me. Whoa. I've zigzagged again and turned right. We're on the last little stretch now. And the path looks smoother than it was. I can't get the heat out of my body. It's weird. I've always said I run hot, but this is just crazy. Look. God, who wants to look at that, Jay? Seriously. I can remember when I was a kid going, I used to say, cool, I'm sweating. To my grandmother used to correct me. No, 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 no. Women glow, men perspire, horses sweat. God rest your soul, man, but crikey, I'm sweating. Got to the area I wanted to be. Ready to have a little scout around. Looked at a couple of potential spots. Just checking the wind. The wind's changing tonight. It's not too strong, but the least amount of wind I have to worry about, the better, really. The wind's about 8 to 10, I believe, and gusting up to 17. And at the moment it's coming from the southeast, but during the night it's going to swap to the east. So I'm going to try and have a quiet night. So to have a quiet night, I need to find a little bit of shelter with something to the east of me. I'll find something for now and have to sit down, but I'm pleased with myself today. What can I say about the walk? From about a mile, maybe a mile and a half west of Alfriston. Walked along that range, just a beautiful walk. It's a lovely day for it as well today, August, but it's been cloudy. The sun's popped through a couple of times to heat me up. Then I dropped down into the youth hostel, had a bit of brunch, down through Southease. No, I'm going to give up on that one. And then back out again. The first bit's a bit, I'm going to be hypercritical. You're walking along a farmer's field basically. It's still lovely to be out, and then walking up a long concrete road. But after that, it's worth it, because you're out across the range again, if you like, along the ridge line. And you drop down the ridge line down to the farm where I got the water from, which name I can't, Housdean Farm, I believe it is. I mentioned earlier, sorry. And then back up the long hill, that's what it's actually called, which I wasn't looking forward to, but it wasn't as bad as I thought. I had a little wander out. I've done a little bit more than I perhaps should have done, but you know, I had my targets to go on with today. It's all held out. I'm gonna sit down, have a drink, get something to eat, and then look for a campsite for the night. Look for my little pitch, but it's nice to be out, isn't it? So in conclusion, great walk. I've done too much today, but you know, I'm old. But fantastic walk, beautiful. The scenery's changing all the time. Just a really good walk. This is the end of day 2, or the end of day 10 for Jay's from I Wonder UK's Southdown Way, there and back. Thanks for staying with me. I apologise if I rambled on too much today. I know I did this morning. I kept on mentioning the K word, and I promised myself I wouldn't, but this afternoon I got positive and it went really well. I'm really pleased with myself. The last mile and a half, my feet are hurting and shouting at my brain, but I ignored them when we got on with it. Again, thanks for joining me. Hopefully you'll join me for tomorrow's episode of East to West. Look forward to seeing you. So this is Jay from I Wonder UK. I'm out of here. You never guess what I've got. Well, you might be able to. I'll show you in a minute. It'd be rude not to though, they're literally just there. And tonight I've got this one. Out of the 3 different flavours I had, this one's alright. So I can put up with that. But be careful of these bags, they're scorching bloody hot. I'll show you what's in the cup. You know, don't you, look. Blackberry goodness. And that's the one I'm eating tonight. The pasta bolognese is okay.